Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here, everyone. Welcome back for some more SPTV, where every day's a great day not to be in a cult. We are talking today about Mirriam Francis. And because we're talking about Mirriam Francis, we're going to be talking about Mike Rinder. Because Mike Rinder published a whole bunch of lies yesterday on his blog, minimizing Mirriam Francis, her concerns, her allegations, dragging me into it, dragging Mike Brown into it, dragging Jamie Mustard into it. This video is not going to be a comprehensive response to Mike's entire blog post because it's not my place. It's not necessary for me to speak in defense specifically of Mirriam or Mike or Jamie. They can all do it for themselves. They have, they will. I will help them in that effort to the degree that they would like me to. But this particular video is going to be dedicated to responding to the lies that Mike Rinder put in his blog about me and what happened with the Aftermath Foundation. And since Mike on his blog post yesterday published what would have otherwise been considered private emails with Mirriam and Mike Brown in an attempt to discredit them and call them liars, I will for the first time show you guys the emails between me and Mike Rinder and the other Aftermath Foundation board members that support that serve as evidence to prove the details I have given about what happened and why I was kicked off the Aftermath Foundation board, and to prove that Mike Rinder's statements on his blog post yesterday are in fact nothing short of lies. Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be hosting a conversation, a live conversation. We'll be streaming it on other channels simultaneously between me, Mirriam Francis, Mike Brown, Christy Gordon, and I believe Serge Delmar. One of the reasons I have stayed out of, or tried to stay out of the fray, tried to stay out of the conversation that is happening, that Mirriam Francis is centering regarding Mike Rinder, is because I didn't want anything she had to say to be minimized by my involvement. People already expect me to say this or that about Mike Rinder because of what happened with the Aftermath Foundation. I did not want me, my existence, my involvement in any conversations to be used to diminish Mirriam's concerns. Now, why are we talking about Mirriam Francis? Guys. Whew. If SPTV is here for anything, it is here to support the members of our former Scientology, generally speaking, our former Scientology community, who are putting their necks on the line, litigating against Scientology. That can be in a civil way. That can be in a criminal way. Okay. Mirriam Francis and the criminal case that, with a little bit of luck, is coming very soon in both the United States and Australia against her father for the horrific abuse that Mirriam was subjected to by her Sea Org member father. The criminal case prosecuting him for this abuse, the story of which was told in season 2, episode 1 of Mike Rinder and Leah Remini's television show, Leah Remini, Scientology in the Aftermath. The criminal case that will be coming, hopefully, I mean, I guess you could just plead guilty to everything and there wouldn't be a trial, is going to be the next giant leap forward in exposure of Scientology, its harmful abuses and practices, what it does to children, what it does to families, how it really operates, how Scientology silences victims, shames victims, covers up for rapists and pedophiles. And it's going to be the next big chapter. It's going to be the next big chapter. If SPTV is here for anything, it is support those, in this case, Mirriam, who are walking that path and putting themselves in that line of fire. It is an extremely inconvenient truth for all of us former Scientologists in the YouTube space that Mirriam has particular concerns about Mike Rinder. It's an inconvenient truth. It's an uncomfortable truth. Whether Mirriam's concerns are valid or not, the fact that she has them is a very inconvenient truth for all of us. And it's not my job, our job, to tell her whether she's right or wrong. It's our job to support her in her desire to have the conversation. It's not our job to tell Mirriam to shut up. It's not our job to get Mirriam to stop talking about Mike Rinder. I'll tell you whose job that is. It's Mike Rinder's job. And Mike Rinder's been doing a horrible job at that job. The best way for Mike to get Mirriam to stop talking about Mike is for Mike to host a conversation with Mirriam, where he says, Mirriam, you believe a lot of things about me that I believe are false. You've said a lot of things about me that I believe are false. I feel that you have been deluded by people into believing things about me. And I recognize that the most effective way to show you the respect that you need and to protect my reputation is to have a conversation, an unedited live conversation in front of the entire world, whoever wants to watch, where you are free to say to me whatever you want to say, and I will give you the answers, even if they're not the answers that you like or want. And you can hear the answers from my voice while looking in my eyes, and you can decide whether you believe me or not. And more importantly, the rest of the world can decide whether they believe me. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not our job to tell Mirriam to stop asking the questions or to stop making the statements. You don't support a victim by saying, well, we support you here, but geez, could you just shut up about that other stuff? That doesn't make us feel good. That makes us uncomfortable. A lot of what Mirriam is saying and has questions about is very uncomfortable. That does not make them invalid. And you guys know that once I start talking, I'll just start repeating myself. But when Mirriam sent these concerns to Mike Rinder directly, his response should not have been to hire a new lawyer with Aftermath Foundation money and to send Mirriam an insulting letter, or to send Mirriam sent the questions to Alex the Rabbit. Alex the Rabbit sent the questions to Mike Rinder. They then hired a lawyer using Aftermath Foundation money to send Alex the Rabbit a very insulting letter about dogs and fleas. Okay, so I have organized my thoughts here pretty well. I've got a whole bunch of screen shares here ready to go. But I have to start the conversation with Mirriam Francis, because if SPTV is here for anything, it is to support people who are going through what Mirriam Francis has been going through and is about to go through in an actual, we hope, criminal trial. And the thing is, Mike has used various efforts, including me, to minimize Mirriam Francis's concerns by characterizing them as just the latest in a long line of attacks from OSA and haters. Hey, you might have had a long line of attacks from OSA and haters, but don't you dare try to put Mirriam into that. Don't you dare try to contextualize Mirriam within that context when Mirriam's got nothing to do with any of that. Mirriam's got nothing to do with me. She's got nothing to do with OSA or David Miscavige or anything. Okay, so let's start. But I'm not going to spend the rest of the video talking about Mirriam. Because Mike Rinder has tried to minimize Mirriam by associating her with other earlier similar attacks, he chose to mention me in the first part of his blog post. That section contained a bunch of lies, and I'm here just to show you the evidence that those were lies. We'll have other conversations later, particularly tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. I haven't put it on the schedule yet, but you guys can look for it. Okay, let's look at this. Mike Rinder's blog post yesterday. It's never a bad day for a good smear. Oh, look, a nice little childish shot at Alex the Rabbit. So there you go. Make of that what you will. Mike says, I want to address an important matter circulating in the former Scientologist community for the last few weeks concerning a criminal investigation into child sexual abuse allegations against the father of Mirriam Francis. Okay, give me 10 seconds, guys. I just realized I needed to check something in my YouTube studio real quick. Sorry, guys. Okay, no, we're good. All right. So he calls this an important matter circulating in the former Scientologist community for the last few weeks concerning a criminal investigation into child sexual abuse allegations against the father of Mirriam Francis. Okay. I will lay out the timeline and associated evidence in this blog post. First, I want to be clear. I don't want anyone attacking Mirriam or anyone else on my behalf. No, I'm just going to call her a liar to all of my people, implying that she's part of an attack against me. But God forbid anybody attacked Mirriam. This is why I'm saying the conversation should be happening between Mike Rinder and Mirriam Francis. It should not be Mike Rinder putting up a blog post about what a liar Mirriam Francis is and how she's being manipulated and controlled by other people, infantilizing her, taking away her agency. Just have the conversation with Mirriam, Mike. But you won't. You refuse to. Okay, what Mirriam has been through in her life, mainly due to Scientology, is something no person should ever have to face. For those seeking the actual facts, this blog post contains all the information and associated documentation. Okay, we can skip this part. Mirriam has made allegations about me which are not true. I am also publishing this because I don't want unsuspecting people to get caught up in this matter without accurate information. The thing is, when you just put up a blog post, it is inherently one-sided. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have something that's one-sided that is factual and accurate, but it is one-sided. There's no opportunity for you to be confronted with the omissions or contradictions or falsehoods that you're presenting in your presentation. And that's why the conversation should happen live with the person you have a problem with, because you are contributing to the two sides situation of this instead of trying to bring both sides together to iron it all out. Okay, fine. He does a paragraph about how great he is. And then, okay, a short history of Scientology smears. Okay, so you see, he's starting the conversation about Mirriam by introducing the long line of attacks against Mike Rinder. Why would you be framing it in this way if you weren't trying to characterize Mirriam and her concerns, a lot of her very valid concerns, as just smears? Okay, so he spoke out in the St. Petersburg Times. And then Scientology attacked him, called him a liar, called him a bitter defrocked apostate, Then they tried to call him a wife beater and a wife abuser, Scientology lied about those incidents, of course. He is, of course, totally correct about all of this. Then they started using Mike's daughter in a public, a public campaign of attacking him. As to being an abusive father, totally correct. Mike is totally accurate in all of this, of course. Then Scientology started attacking Mike and Leah by saying they were inciting violence against Scientologists and they had blood on their hands. Of course, this is all totally accurate, what Mike is explaining here. And then that's fine. Okay. He says, thankfully, many of you do not believe these smears because you've spent the time to learn how Scientology, David Miscavige, and the Office of Special Affairs conducts these operations. It's a pattern that has been followed for 7 decades. I would even go so far as to say no one believes those smears. No one. No one at all believes any of those bullshit attacks against Mike Rinder by Scientology because they are obviously false. It's a little different when the person who's raising concerns about you and your involvement in OSA and your involvement in covering up crimes against children happens to be one of the people to whom this occurred and to whom is a prominent member of our second-gen former Scientology community. Comparing them to your history of being attacked to Scientology is not an excellent start, in my personal opinion. But what do I know, guys? I grew up in a cult. A rabbit out of David Miscavige's hat. Okay, so now he's going to start attacking Alex the Rabbit from the YouTube channel Down the Rabbit Hole News. And okay, I was going to share a screen, but we'll save that for later. Since I escaped from Scientology, I've rarely had to deal with efforts to undermine my credibility by people who are also fighting against Scientology, especially people who have suffered due to its abuses. Unfortunately, that changed in the last few months. Yes, unfortunately, Mirriam Francis started speaking out. These truth tellers, quote unquote, have used and manipulated good people, supporters of our fight, who want to help end the criminal behavior of Scientology. Okay, I'm going to editorialize here a moment. It is, of course, always unfortunate or inconvenient or whatever when former members start discussing each other in negative ways instead of discussing Scientology in negative ways. It's unfortunate and inconvenient because some people find it distasteful, but to act like there's something inherently wrong with it is also dishonest. Okay. To act like no one is allowed to call anyone else out on stuff because, oh, geez, it hurts the movement. It doesn't hurt the movement, guys. The movement goes on. It is actually very healthy for us to be able to call each other out on stuff. Guess what, guys? We're not in a cult anymore. And for years and years and years, and I've been a part of this effort for years and years and years, there are people who have, very inconveniently had concerns about Mike Rinder who have been told, that's not very helpful. Just my involvement on the Aftermath Foundation board put me in that position of also wishing that people who had concerns about Mike Rinder would just be quiet about it, because I work with the guy. I'm saying this realizing I'm sort of talking about a weakness in me. Like, it was very inconvenient for me to be friends with Mike, be working with Mike. Mike worked for me, actually. I employed Mike Rinder. Plus, we worked together on the Aftermath Foundation board. So if people came to me with concerns about Mike Rinder, it's like, what am I supposed to now be everyone's messenger and go to Mike and be like, well, Mike, this person's upset with you and that person's upset with you? Like, it put me in a very uncomfortable position. I'm saying that because I have firsthand experience, and I can say from firsthand experience that there has been an effort over the many years to just try to get people to be like, can you that? Do you really have to be so whiny about Mike Rinder? Like, and I say whiny, I wouldn't use those words right now. It's okay for us to be able to call each other out. And that's one of the good things about us all having our own platforms. I think it's also an inconvenient truth for Mike Rinder that he no longer has the biggest platform. There are many creators in the SPTV space who have bigger platforms than Mike Rinder. That's an inconvenient truth for Mike. So Mike doesn't get to gatekeep. I don't get to gatekeep. Leah Remini doesn't get to gatekeep. And that's why this approach that Mike is taking of attack, defend, don't engage, it's not working. It's not working. It hasn't worked up to now. It's never going to work. You're always going to look like you're the bad guy. You're always going to look like you're the one that's lying and hiding and covering up, because you won't engage publicly in real time, earnestly with the person who's making the accusations against you, which is not me. Okay. Over the past 7 years, Leah and I have found ourselves increasingly dealing with disputes between personalities within the group of former Scientologists, rather than focusing on the mission of ending the abuses and holding its leadership accountable. Based on my experience, it seems that some, perhaps based on their Scientology indoctrination, believe they need an enemy to fight. Who that enemy is doesn't matter, even people on the same side. Okay, good. Very dismissive of people who have concerns about you, Mike, but that's fine. Motivating people in this environment is pretty easy to do, especially if they are led to believe that attacking me and the Aftermath Foundation is the same as attacking Scientology. I want you to take note how he tries to conflate him and the Aftermath Foundation there. That's going to come up as a theme later on. With the introduction of YouTube into the world of former Scientologists, activism took on a new dimension, not only to tell the truth, but also a space where false narratives can be presented as truth. YouTube is equally an excellent resource for news, information, and entertainment, and a platform ripe to elevate the most sensational and provocative content, even though it may not be rooted in truth. Add to that the ability to easily monetize videos, and one can end up with content filled with half-truths, mistruths, and outright lies. Sensational framing is designed to get clicks and generate revenue. I find this interesting, as if YouTube is the first time it became possible to make money off of mistruths, half-truths, lies, and sensationalism. Movies, documentaries, TV shows, newspapers, books. YouTube's not what invented all of that stuff. Also, it's interesting to criticize someone who does videos on YouTube for seeking views and likes. It's almost like criticizing someone who publishes a book for seeking book sales, or someone who does a TV show for seeking viewership, or someone who does a podcast for seeking downloads, or do you see? You want to criticize an author for wanting to sell books. You want to criticize a musician for wanting to sell songs. Criticizing people who do YouTube videos for wanting to get views seems like pretty lowbrow criticism, but that's okay. So here we go. This is where I'm going to start showing you guys actual receipts. The new wave of attacks began when Asmithlevin was asked to remove himself from the board of the Aftermath Foundation. He originally agreed to do so voluntarily, but when the agreed upon date came, he refused to go. You done messed up, Mike Rinder, because now I'm going to show the documents that prove you're an absolute liar. Okay, so before I forget, I did want to share this page with you guys. Down the Rabbit Hole News has done 2 interviews so far with Mirriam Francis. I highly recommend them. If I remember, I'll include a link to them in the description down below. I know the link isn't there yet. One of them, the first one with Mirriam, is What We Don't Know, Mirriam Francis's side and Mike Rinder's role. Okay, that was the first interview. And the channel here is Down the Rabbit Hole News. Okay. The second interview is this one. This was just last night. And this was Mirriam Francis's part 2, but also slightly a response to Mike Rinder's blog post from yesterday. It says, review a case. Who is the real Osa? Let's break this down with Mirriam Francis. Okay. Mike Brown also did a video last night about Mike Rinder's blog post. Flaps and Handlings, Drama I Never Expected is the name of Mike Rinder's video, and you can find his channel at Mike Brown. If you can't find it in just a search for Mike Brown, search for his handle at Mike Brown 101. Okay, so let's see here. I am... Okay, the first email that I have to share with you guys only makes sense after a short explanation. I've already covered this extensively in 2 videos. If I can remember, I will also link to these videos in the description down below. On May 18th in Los Angeles, while I was out there covering the Danny Masterson trial, I met a girl named Juliana Cohen, who for the month that I was there, spent a few nights with me at my hotel. The third night that she stayed with me, in the morning, she would not let me sleep. I very politely asked her to leave. Instead of leaving, she started to trash the hotel room, started to destroy all of my streaming equipment, and physically assaulted me and attacked me and injured me seriously. Okay. I know that sounds very alarming to anyone who has not heard this story. And apologies for not getting into all the details. Again, I went to it so thoroughly in 2 videos. I will put a link in the description down below after this is done. In response to that event, she then chose to say, I actually am the one who assaulted her, and I hurt her, and I actually beat the living crap out of her. I know that sounds extremely alarming, guys. It was 100% pure fiction. Okay. This girl, Juliana Cohen, by the way, she's one of the people in the SPTV Discord server, the horrible cesspool of hatred over there. Yes, that's right. The woman who attacked me and assaulted me and then proceeded to blackmail me and try to ruin my life for 6 months has been welcomed into the SPTV Discord server as a hero and a victim. And if you're ever interested in seeing how Michelle Carpenter and Pete Jensen and Juliana Bittencourt welcome her in there as a hero and prevent anyone from saying anything critical of her, you can go to the SPTV Discord server and witness that for yourself. Juliana Cohen's father is a lawyer. She herself went to law school for a couple years. I'll tell you what, Juliana never went to the police, never filed a report, and never tried to sue me. She just spent months and months and months messaging hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in our community, meaning the Facebook SPTV community, anyone who's ever been on my channel. She takes credit for swatting my house in Clearwater, Florida. She called dozens of restaurants around my house, telling them that I am a murderer and wanted by the IRS. I mean, the woman is a psycho. The woman's a psycho. Okay. But what Juliana did back there was she emailed all the board members basically saying, I would never want to involve the police. I just want Aaron removed from the Aftermath Foundation board. A very strange request. Okay. So what happened? And guys, I'm giving this the very short version. Okay. So then what happened is the board members, all the board members, except for Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia is a good friend of mine. He was keeping me in the loop on what was happening. All the other board members, Mark, Mike, Claire, Amy, and Matt weren't even on the board yet. Spent the next 2 weeks. I didn't even know Juliana Cohen had contacted them. I sort of naively thought Juliana would just disappear because she's a crazy person and she would just disappear. For the next 2 weeks, Mike, Mark, and Claire conspired on how to kick me off the board of the Aftermath Foundation. They never contacted me. They never said, hey, we're getting some crazy emails about some crazy stuff that happened. Are you okay? What's going on? They just ghosted me for 2 weeks, didn't tell me why, and conspired on how to kick me off the board of the Aftermath Foundation. Then they came to me. They called an urgent emergency meeting to vote me off the board. But the night before the meeting, they had Mark Headley of all people, who's just doesn't really, not one of the guys who runs the Aftermath Foundation. Mark had begging me, please resign. Please don't make us vote you off. Please resign. Please resign. And I said, guys, do you realize what's going to happen if you vote me off the board right now? Nobody is going to believe that you don't think I did this. Everyone in our community is going to think that you have investigated it and determined for yourself that I actually did this, because nobody would believe that you would get rid of me for any other reason. I didn't think I could survive such a thing professionally, reputationally, socially. And I said, okay, look, I can respond to the details of the email that you've just sent me, or I can just agree that in 6 months I will resign. Because if I resign in 6 months, nobody's going to think it's because of this. And they came back and they said, would you do 3 months? And I said, yeah, if doing 3 months is going to keep you from voting me off the board tomorrow, then yes, I'll do 3 months. And in my mind, I'm thinking we'll continue the conversation later. Okay. That is where this next email comes in. And that's what I'm going to share with you right here. Okay. This email is on August 15th. And well, I'll read the email and then I'll anything that I feel needs to be explained, I'll then explain it. Okay. Okay. This is from Claire Headley to me. Aaron, I intended to give you a call today and I ended up with some client deadlines that prevented that. I promised you I would get back to you today. However, I'm doing so here. On June 3rd, you stated the following in your email to us. So remember, guys, the attack in Los Angeles occurred on May 18th. So it was June 3rd by the time I was being essentially forced to resign. On June 3rd, you stated in the following in your email to us, quote, I will commit to voluntarily resigning in 6 months' time. Continued to be a quote from me. So instead of all that going down that way, I will commit to you now that I will voluntarily step down in 6 months. I will have no problem publicly giving a reason for stepping down at that time. She then says, Mark emailed you back and requested a compromise of 3 months. And you responded that you agreed to that. The board voted unanimously to accept your resignation. An email from Ray. Ray is the lawyer on the board, Ray Jeffrey. He's a board member and he's an attorney. The email from Ray was sent to you that stated the following, quote, the board voted to accept your resignation from the foundation effective September 4th, 2023, with the proviso that any board member may ask for a special meeting to consider its acceptance of your resignation. I hope you can understand and respect that vote. We are all grateful for your years of work to build the foundation. I hope you will continue to be an advocate for the foundation and our purpose. After all, I know you care as much about our mission and purpose as I do. I hope you will be willing to provide input and work together as partners when it comes to matters that you have created a valuable platform for. And I hope you know you are and will continue to be an important resource in our efforts to expose Scientology and help people escape and start over. I hope you will not consider hurting the foundation. To reiterate, we have no intention to speak publicly about this. We intend to continue to support and defend you. Kind regards, Claire. Okay, let's look at the date. This email was sent August 15th. Remember, that is just about 2 weeks from when my resignation was going to become effective. There's a couple things that I want to point out from this email. One, they had already accepted my resignation. Two, they did not need me to step down. I had already, in their opinion, resigned. They had already sent me an email accepting my resignation. All they had to do was do nothing. Oh, the one part that I want to show you here is it specifically said in the letter about accepting my resignation with the proviso, with the proviso that any board member may ask for a special meeting to consider its acceptance of your resignation. Claire Headley and I had a phone conversation shortly after they accepted my resignation, where we both made it clear to each other that our intentions were both to do everything in both of our power to make sure that all of the board members come September 4th wanted me to stay and that they would call a special meeting to consider its acceptance of, or reconsider its acceptance of my resignation. I told Claire that's what I was going to work towards. She told me that's what she was going to work towards. She also made it clear to me she wasn't really the one in the driver's seat here. It was Mike Rinder that really wanted me gone. I then spent the next 2 months working my ass off to show that I could be on my best behavior and not piss people off and help the foundation and help Mike and all that good stuff. So Mike, okay, so what is this email from Claire about? It's because I said, I'm starting to get the impression that they're going to railroad me here. I'm starting to get the impression that Claire is just sort of snowballing me and wants me to believe that she's going to come in at the last minute and ask the board to reconsider my resignation. But then she's not going to do it. So I'm going to be cast out. I'm going to look like I was just kicked off this board by my friends for no obvious reason. Not obvious to the world, because guys, you see, it says here, she said, we have no intention to speak publicly about this. During this whole, everything that was going down, they said, no, Aaron, you don't understand. We're not going to announce that we voted you off. We're not even going to tell anyone that you're not on the board anymore. And you don't have to either. You don't have to say anything. We're not going to say anything. Now you might go, hold on. If they're not going to tell anyone you're not on the board, what's the point of removing you from the board? Exactly. The point was Mike Rinder didn't want to be associated with me. He's just over the years come to be embarrassed about the things I do and say and how I piss people off. Okay. So I started to go, she's going to snowball me here. And so that's when I said I wanted to talk to her. And that's why she sent me this response. And that's why this response is basically like a reminder. Let me remind you that you said you were going to step down. Let me remind you that you said you would have no problem coming up with a reason to give publicly. Let me remind you that we accepted your resignation. And let me remind you that we have the opportunity to reconsider your resignation. I was basically asking her to tell me right now. I said, if you're not going to reconsider my resignation, I want you to tell me right now. Because if you are not going to reconsider it, I'm going to publicly resign before my resignation becomes effective. I'm not going to let you just snowball me and make it look like I was jettisoned by my friends. Okay. Let me know now, and I will publicly resign with dignity and not have you look like you threw me out with the trash and then I'm just doing damage control when I speak publicly about it. You'll notice in her response, she doesn't even say, we're not going to reconsider. Anyway, that's fine. I don't want to beat that point to death. Okay. Here's the most important part here. I'm sorry I'm being long-winded about this, guys. You know me. I'm a little wordy. They ended up reconsidering and keeping me on the board. Why? Because Leah Remini called each one of them and said, are you stupid people? Are you morons? Why would you still be trying to kick Aaron off the board months after what happened in Los Angeles? You guys thought Aaron was going to get canceled. You thought he was going to get, charged. You thought he was going to get sued. You didn't want to be smeared with anything that was happening to Aaron. None of those things ever came to pass. And you're still trying to get rid of him. Do you know how bad this is going to make you look? Do you know how stupid it is to think that no one's going to wonder why and Aaron's just not going to say anything and you're just not going to say anything? Do you realize how stupid you guys are behaving? So then Claire introduced a motion to not accept my resignation, and they unanimously voted to keep me on the board. The evidence of that is what I'm about to share with you, the implied evidence. Okay, now I want to compare that to what Mike said here, which is, and I'll try to highlight this if I can. The new wave of attacks began when Aaron Asmithlevin was asked to remove himself from the board of the foundation. He originally agreed to do so voluntarily, but when the agreed upon date came, he refused to go. Mike, I think it's very adorable that you're bending over that far backwards to keep Leah Remini's name out of your mouth. You do invoke her name when you want to, but what you lied about in this sentence is that he originally agreed to do so voluntarily, but when the agreed upon date came, he refused to go. No, when the agreed upon date came, Leah Remini called you and told you you were being a stupid person. And so you all unanimously voted to keep me on the board. That's a little different than what you wrote, isn't it? Okay, so if all this came to pass, and if after all this horrible stuff that happened in Los Angeles occurred, and they kept you on the board, then my God, how did they end up kicking you off? Let's take a look at that. Okay. I did a video in early November about one of the attorneys in Valerie Haney's trafficking case not showing up for an important hearing. I did not say the attorney's name. Just for the sake of this video, it was Graham Barry. Graham Barry is a good guy. Graham Barry is a good lawyer. I like Graham Barry. I consider Graham Barry a friend. I have no problem with Graham Barry. I did that video at that time for a very specific reason. And I did not say Graham Barry's name. Maybe 6 people in the world knew who I was talking about. My audience didn't. But I understand why that video would have pissed off Graham Barry. If I was Graham Barry, I would have been pissed off as well. That's fine. I understand. Graham Barry sort of threatened to sue me if I wouldn't take that video down. And he sent a copy of that threat to the Aftermath Foundation board members. The following, by the way, some people think that Graham Barry works with the Aftermath Foundation. That is not true. Graham Barry does not work for or with the Aftermath Foundation. Sometimes when people are leaving Scientology and they have things they want legal representation for, we will refer them to Graham Barry. In other words, we send business to Graham Barry. There's no professional relationship of any kind whatsoever. It's up to Graham Barry to accept or not accept a client. It's up to the client to reach out to Graham Barry. The Aftermath Foundation has never paid Graham Barry to do a thing. He's never worked for the Aftermath Foundation. Okay. Let's see. So the next thing I'm going to share with you is this. This is Mike Rinder's response to Graham Barry. You'll notice he copies everyone on the board in his response. Hello, Graham. As you copied me and the rest of the board members on the Aftermath Foundation, I feel it's important that you know Aaron's statements and positions do not reflect the views of the Aftermath Foundation. And specifically with respect to this, they do not reflect my views. You have done an enormous amount of good for a lot of people and have been willing to put yourself on the line when others have not. I appreciate that. And so do many others. You deserve to have beefs. You deserve to have beefs with people on the same side taken up privately rather than splattered onto the internet for the sake of clicks. You and Aaron can sort this out. I just wanted you to know that this video doesn't reflect my opinion or that of the board. Now, the only issue that I really took with this email is this insult here that I would only do my video just for the sake of clicks. That's obviously a very, insulting thing to say. And also my issue is that Mike could have sent this email directly to Graham Barry. He didn't have to copy me. He didn't have to copy anyone. Okay. So in response to, by the way, for the record, Graham Barry did not intentionally no-show to this hearing. It was a technical glitch. Now, what I said in my video about Graham that I regret, and I took back and I deleted the video, is that I basically said, I implied it was lazy of him to try to dial into the hearing instead of show up in person. Graham explained to me in detail afterwards when we spoke that the courts, the judges actually want attorneys who are doing what he's doing in cases like this to dial in remotely. It was not lazy. It was not nothing. And that was my fault. Okay. But you have to understand that's a private issue between 2 private parties. There's a reason why I never said Graham Barry's name in my video. It wasn't an attempt to actually blow him up or draw attention to him. I was doing that video for a very specific reason. Okay. In response to Mike's email, kind of shitting on me to my face, I sent the following response. Notice the date of this email. It's November 9th. My resignation was effective September 4th. So November 9th, I'm still on the board, you guys. That's the evidence I was saying before. I'm still on the board. No matter what water has gone under the bridge, the board had already unanimously voted to keep me on. What they don't want to tell you is because Leah Remini shamed them into it. Okay, so in response to Mike insulting me to my face, I responded with the following email. Yes, opinions expressed on my channel are expressed as only my own personal opinions and not as the opinion of the Aftermath Foundation, nor any of its other board members. The same holds true for Mike. And I included a video clip of Mike Rinder talking to a German documentary crew, absolutely shitting on Graham Barry for 2 minutes. Now you might go, geez, Aaron, that's a real dickhead thing to do. Oh, it was intended to be a dickhead thing to do. But here you have Mike Rinder acting like, oh, poor Graham Barry was subjected to a mean thing that Aaron said on a video that no one knew what the hell he was talking about. The hypocrisy to me was amazing considering Mike Rinder's on the internet shitting on Graham Barry himself. Here we go.
What was your involvement with Graham Barry?
Not much. Oh, well, no, that's not true. I had quite a bit of involvement with Graham Barry. He was the lawyer representing Uwe Gertz and some other people, and hired Vaughn and Stacy and several others as expert witnesses. And I don't like Graham because I don't think he's honest. I think he's expedient. He'll say things that are just whatever is expedient. So I don't.
Were any
Okay, that's pretty much the end of that. Now, Graham, I apologize in advance for dragging you into this, and but let's be honest, I'm not the one bringing all this shit up again. Now, Mike Rinder has said, "Oh, I feel differently about Graham Barry now because of all the people he's helped who've left Scientology." Okay, these were words that you said after you left Scientology. So if the only reason you've changed your mind about Graham Barry is because now he's helping people that you like, whereas when you were in Scientology, he was helping people you didn't like, whatever. I was like, there's no way I'm going to let Mike insult me to my face to Graham Barry when there's footage on YouTube of Mike shitting on Graham Barry. Okay. So then, okay, good. This is where it gets really fun. I hope you're ready for some fun, you guys. Mike Rinder, of course, took issue with me making him look bad in front of all of these people. I mean, didn't really seem to care that he was making me look bad in front of all these people. But let me show you the response that Mike Rinder then sent. This is an email. Let's see if I can make it a little bigger. I have taken Graham off of this thread, as this is Aftermath Foundation business at this point. Aaron, your response indicates that you continue to refuse to acknowledge the real issue, but instead are trying to deflect. The fact is that Graham Barry wrote to all the members of the board of the foundation because he, like so many others, believe that you speak for us, or at least that we should be able to control your actions and your statements. This is a circumstance that you created. You have repeatedly identified yourself as vice president of the Aftermath Foundation as a means of gaining a measure of credibility for yourself. The dripping cynicism. So I haven't been identifying myself as the VP of the Aftermath Foundation because I want to promote the Aftermath Foundation and raise funds for it. I've only been doing it for clout. Yes, the nonprofit organization that me and Luis Garcia created, that I personally recruited Mike and Mark and Claire and Christy and Ray to join. I don't do that because it's worthy and virtuous and an amazing way to be David Miscavige's worst nightmare. I do it for clout, you guys. And I'm the one who created the problem that, let me go back, the actual language. So many people think that I speak for the board. So many people think that the board members should be able to control my actions and control my words. And that's my fault. That is my fault. And I created that problem. Okay. As a result, we are held by many to account for your actions and statements. Nobody else on the board has done this. And if someone takes issue with the actions of anyone else, they don't even consider going to the board to address them. So this is Mike's complaint, that when people are upset with me, they message the board members. Now, he's going to say later in his blog post, oh, people think Aaron was removed for no reason, and that's not true. You're right, it's not true. I was removed because Mike was tired of people emailing him anytime they were not happy with something I did or said. All right, let's keep going. No one else on the board has done this. Okay, you refuse to own your own actions and what you have created. By the way, I'm sorry to keep it. When he says what you have created, he means created this construct where people think we're responsible for you. That was my fault, you guys. Okay. You can deny it, but what you do and say reflects on the board. And most specifically, it affects me, Mike Rinder. This is the Aftermath Foundation. And it is Leah and me that are identified with the Aftermath. That is our creation, not yours. So what you do and say, by the way, when he says our creation, he means the TV show. He doesn't mean the foundation. He means the TV show. So what you do and say reflects most directly on us because you have repeatedly promoted that this is your position and your role. The name Aftermath was chosen because it gave credibility to the foundation. It's not called the Luis Garcia Foundation or the Luis and Aaron Foundation. You see, he is still only talking about my mortal sin of creating an environment where people think Mike Rinder is responsible for me or that I speak for Mike Rinder. Okay. The Graham Barry letter is just the latest in a series of incidents where your actions and statements slop over onto me and the other board members. Obviously, you didn't like me responding, saying that your opinion is not mine and isn't reflective of the board. It got you exercised enough to waste your time finding a video clip from more than 10 years ago to deflect and try to make me look like I did the same thing as you did. But if my email got you so upset that you felt the need to spend your time trying to dig up dirt on me, imagine how it feels on our side. The letter from Graham Barry, or the emails we get about your other activities and statements, even how frustrating it is to see your clickbait headlines like Leah Remini serves David Miscavige, when that is not true. Huh? He's talking about whether I should be on the board of the Aftermath Foundation or not, and he mentions clickbait headlines like Leah Remini serves David Miscavige. The horror, my pearls. He didn't like the title of one of my YouTube videos. What are we going to do? All right. You know, people think that you speak on our behalf as a unified front, but you apparently don't care. Even the Barry video, you had to rush to get it out before you knew all the facts. Bottom line, you should have done the honorable thing and simply walked away when the big flap occurred after your trip to Los Angeles. I am renewing the request from that time. Please distance yourself from the foundation, voluntarily resign. Even until the end of the email, he's basically saying, the problem, Aaron, is that people think you speak for us. Now, by the way, by the time this email had come out, it had been 3 or 4 months since I had ever identified myself as the VP of the Aftermath Foundation in any of my videos. I used to put it as the intro graphic in all my videos because in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm building a platform, I'm building an audience. How awesome is it that even if I'm not doing a video about the Aftermath Foundation, it can serve as like a promotion for the Aftermath Foundation. Now, in retrospect, I agreed. When I started doing that, it made sense. Afterwards, it stopped making sense. Not all of my videos should be branded VP of the Aftermath Foundation. And so I stopped doing it. I had not done that for many, 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 many months by the time Mike was bringing it up in this email. Okay, let me see. The next email that good. This is the one I really, really wanted to share with you guys. Okay, this is my response to the email that I just read to you. And I'm sorry, the text is small, but it's the only way I could fit it all on this screen. So here we go. Mike, my video has nothing to do with the Aftermath Foundation. Graham Barry sending a copy of his complaint about my video to all the foundation board members does not make it foundation business. The issue, as you seem to see it, is that when people have a problem with me, they run to other board members to complain. Feel free to respond to any such complaints with something like, I don't agree with what Aaron said, and he's speaking for himself, not the foundation or other board members. However, Mike, what you did was to insult me in your response to Graham, and you copied all the board members right to my face, and I wasn't going to let that stand. The video Graham has an issue with was done at the request of more than one of Graham's clients. Graham was never once named in my video. I intentionally did not name Graham in the video. Each lawsuit and each complainant has many attorneys, multiple attorneys. I don't have a problem with Graham in general. I've sent Graham a ton of business over the years on the financial stuff, the financial cases, refunds, and stuff like that. And I will continue to do so. Anything between me and Graham will be resolved between the two of us. Further, interpersonal conflicts such as this do not impact the Aftermath Foundation's ability to raise funds and carry out its purpose of helping people who are leaving Scientology. In short, it is not Aftermath Foundation business. It seems to me that the issue is more that you don't want to be associated with me through our mutual association with the Aftermath Foundation. Mike, from both an operational perspective and a fundraising perspective, I have done more for this foundation than you have ever done. So if you don't want to be associated with me through our mutual association with the Aftermath Foundation, then please feel free to resign. The reason people associate me with the foundation is because I have a history of energetically using my platform to promote the foundation. That's what board members are supposed to do. When your platform was bigger than mine, you didn't promote the Aftermath Foundation very much at all. I've been promoting it from day one. It's disturbingly cynical that you keep characterizing my promotion of the Aftermath Foundation over the years as something that I've done to create credibility for myself, rather than something I've done to raise funds for the foundation. Truly disturbing. Please don't make the mistake of thinking that people view us as a united front. People don't hesitate to go to other board members with complaints about me, and they don't hesitate to come to me with complaints about other board members. All such complaints have nothing to do with foundation business. To repeat, if you don't want to be associated with me, Mike, you are welcome to resign. Okay, so it was in response to this that he basically said, you are completely right, which is why if my motion does not succeed, I will resign. So Mike Rinder, I'll go back to his blog post. Mike Rinder and Mark and Claire have done this as well. And Mike continued to do this in the comments section of his blog yesterday. Continue to push this narrative that there is so much more to the story of why Aaron was let go from the foundation that unfortunately he'll never be honest about. Mike, your own emails prove you to be a liar. There is nothing more to the story. Are there other complaints that people have made about me to you over the last 6 years that the world may not yet know what those complaints are? Probably, but those complaints aren't the reason I was removed from the Aftermath Foundation. I was removed because you were tired of people thinking that I spoke for you. And you were willing to make it a power struggle. Either Aaron goes or I go. That's what you did. Okay, so then back to Mike's blog post. Let's see how the emails that I just shared with you compare to what he says. The new wave of attacks began when Aaron Smith-Levin was asked to remove himself from the board of the Aftermath Foundation. He originally agreed to do so voluntarily, but when the agreed upon date came, he refused to go. Not exactly what happened, is it, guys? I considered Aaron a friend. Our families were close. Our children played and we vacationed together. We were concerned when we asked Aaron to step down that our friendships would survive. There are plenty of examples in the non-Scientology world of people making such difficult decisions, yet finding a way to move forward, in our case, with the ultimate goals in mind, maintaining relationships we claim are important to us and staying focused on helping those leaving Scientology with the assistance of the Aftermath Foundation. Because someone isn't on the board doesn't mean their work can't continue, especially when Aaron had lamented that he cared so much for those reaching to the foundation for help. Sadly, Aaron made it clear that if he didn't have a title and position on the foundation board, he would not continue to support it. And without a title, he would not be our friend. On a personal level, this scorched earth strategy hurt us deeply. I have never heard such dishonest, disingenuous words in my life. Mike is a lying backstabber. After the attack occurred on May 18th, I did not get a phone call, a text message, an email, nothing from Mike for weeks, while he secretly conspired with other people who were supposed to be my good friends to kick me off the board. There was no, Aaron, WTF OMG. We've gotten some very concerning emails. The attack occurred on a Thursday. We had our normal weekly live stream scheduled for like 3 or 4 days later. When that live stream schedule time was coming up, I got a text from Mark. Hey, we're not going to be able to make it this evening. Family obligations. And then I got a text from Mike. Oh, yeah. Same here. Got a soccer game. Got to go to. Now, these people who were supposed to be my friends couldn't even bring themselves to go, hey, Aaron, listen. We've been getting some disturbing emails and messages the last few days. We've had a lot going on. We haven't had a chance to read them all. We haven't had a chance to discuss them with you, but we have some concerns. First of all, how you doing? Are you okay? Email sounds like some horrible things happened. We have some concerns, but listen, until we have a chance to talk to you and find out what's going on and figure out how we're going to move forward, we're going to take a pause on the SBTV weekly live streams. They couldn't even say that, you guys. They had to make up some bullshit reason why they couldn't make the stream, and then I didn't hear from them for another 2 weeks. These guys were not my friends. They were comfortable using me and my channel and my platform when it helped them sell books and helped them sell merch and helped them grow their channels. But once it became inconvenient, they tossed me away like trash. Okay. So, yes, that's only my response to the portion of Mike's blog about me. I'm not going to bother responding to the portions about Mike Brown, and Jamie Mustard and Mirriam Francis. They're doing that on their own. We're going to have a conversation this evening at 7 p.m. But I wanted to show you guys the emails. There's other emails. They're just not as easily presentable. They're in long chains and everything. There's an email from the lawyer of the foundation, Ray Jeffrey, when Mike, Mark, and Claire were basically banging the drum to figure out how to get me off the board immediately. Ray Jeffrey, the attorney, said, guys, I'm very confused here. Aaron has not done anything wrong. There's no evidence Aaron did anything wrong. The person making these accusations hasn't given any evidence. Even if he did these things, he's not been found guilty of anything. Meaning, even if someone was sending us evidence, even if he was being legitimately accused, because the lawyer said he's not even being credibly accused of something. But even if he was being credibly accused of something, he hasn't been convicted. It is innocent until proven guilty. And also he said, and even if Aaron did this, which I didn't, but even if Aaron did this, what does this have to do with the Aftermath Foundation? I don't even understand. And then they said, and then they said in the email response, Mike Rinder said this specifically, I don't care if Aaron did this or not. Aaron makes bad decisions. He's careless. He's a prime target for OSA, but he acts like he's not. And I don't want to be associated with him. I don't want to be associated with him. Mike said, even if he didn't do this, he will do something again in the future and it will be worse. Promise me. He said, believe me, I promise it will be worse. And he's going to take us down with him. And I don't want to be associated with him when that happens. That's what this came down to. And even then, even after that, they unanimously voted to keep me on the board because Leah Remini shamed them into it. So I just wanted to make that clear. I was removed from the board because Mike Rinder was just sick of people emailing him every time they were upset with me. And then the last few months I was on the board, Matt and Amy were voted on. Guys, in the meeting where they voted me off, Amy's the one who did most of the talking. She said, I have received so many reports about you, of you mistreating people in our community. You made Mitch Brisker feel like his opinion was not wanted. You made, I got an email from a viewer who saw a video that you did with Gary Jackson Moorhead. And she said that you made Gary Jackson Moorhead feel stupid. I got an email from apostate Alex. You made apostate Alex feel like his help wasn't wanted and that the Aftermath Foundation didn't want his help. You once raised your voice at someone in a live stream, and she went on and on and on. And when she was done, I said, Amy, what in the hell does anything you just said have to do with the Aftermath Foundation? She said, we are representatives of our community. I said, no, we're not. We're here to raise money from people who want to help people leave Scientology. And we're here to spend that money helping people who are leaving Scientology or have left Scientology. Doesn't matter if anyone likes us. Doesn't matter if we like each other. Doesn't matter what we do in our personal lives. I said, everything you just said is total horseshit. So anyway, even in Mike Rinder's blog post yesterday in the comment section, he goes, there's so much more to the story that the people on YouTube don't know. Go ahead, Mike. Tell the story. Whatever you think it is, tell the story. You have my permission to publish any text messages, any emails, I was going to say like phone calls, but whatever. Anything you want to publish to explain to the world how you really did have to do what you did in order to protect the Aftermath Foundation from me. You have my permission. You and Mark and Claire have my permission to publish whatever you think is going to be so discreditable to me that it will finally get people to understand how you guys really are the heroes and the warriors you claim to be. See, the reason I succeed on this platform is because I'm the same person in front of the camera that I am off of the camera. You three are not. You three pretend to be a certain person on camera, and behind the scenes, you're much different. That's all I'll say on that for now. By the way, maybe an example of what I'm talking about. All these OSA files that Mark Headley's done about 30 videos about. Why has Mark Headley never said that these OSA files came directly from Mike? Why? Why do you lie about that, Mark? Why? It doesn't even make sense. You know, when Mark Headley is throwing shade at people who do a lot of YouTube videos, he'll be like, well, some of us actually have day jobs. Do you know who doesn't have a day job? Mike Rinder. Mike Rinder doesn't have a day job. So why is Mark Headley doing videos about Mike Rinder's OSA files instead of Mike Rinder doing videos about Mike Rinder's OSA files? Is it maybe because if Mike Rinder was doing videos about his own files, he would have to explain to everyone why he's been sitting on these for 16 years? Now, Mike Rinder said he gave all of these files on this thumb drive to the FBI back in 2004, or 2007, or whenever it was. I 100% believe that to be true. I also know that nobody in the FBI would ever know what the hell those documents mean. Okay. I also know, and you know, since Mike Rinder wants to invoke the name of Leah Remini when he feels it serves him, I will tell you, Mike Rinder gave those documents to Mark. Mark Headley then gave those documents to Leah. I had to ask Leah for a copy. Mike never offered to give them to me. Mark never offered to give them to me. I went to Leah's house to get a copy of those things. And she said, look, baby, sit down. We got to have a talk. I just got off the phone with Mike. He asked me not to give them to you. This is when I was still on the board of the Aftermath Foundation. Leah gave them to me anyway. And I just promised that I wouldn't do videos about all the stuff that they were planning on doing videos about. But I didn't promise not to do anything with them. I will tell you that Leah said to me, Aaron, don't think I'm not asking myself why I got these documents from Mark instead of Mike. Or why Mike didn't tell me about these documents when we were doing a TV show. Where the fuck were these documents when we were making a TV show? Don't think I'm not asking myself that question. Now, I'm not invoking Leah's name to give you the impression she's on my side. I guarantee you, if you have to pick sides between me and Mike, Leah's on Mike's side. Make no mistake about it. And I know Leah would wish we would all just stop mentioning her damn name. But the reason, but Mike's lying about things. Mike's lying about things. And that's why uncomfortable and inconvenient questions are coming his way. For anyone who wants to say, Mike doesn't want to incriminate himself, bullshit. That's exactly what he should be doing. He wants to be a hero. He wants to be a savior. Stop saying OSA does this, Scientology does that. Say, this is what I did. This is what I did. Own it. There's a lot of YouTube channels from former mob members, gangsters, mob bosses who they just come clean. I mean, they've already served their time, of course, but they come clean and say, look, this is a bad life. You know, I found God, you know, I'm not glorifying this, but this is what we did. We did some bad things and this is what it is. I shouldn't be the one doing videos about Scientology pedophiles. Mike Rinder should be. And when Mike Rinder does a video pulling up his documents, he should say, these are my documents, not acting like someone leaked him the documents. How did Mark Headley just do a 1-hour video 2 days ago about where the OSA files came from without once admitting they came from Mike? Why do you guys feel the need to be dishonest and then try to point the finger at other people for being part of a OSA style conspiracy to take you out? Guys, it's not possible to take out the Aftermath Foundation. They have $200,000 in the bank. A foundation has one job: raise money, spend the money. It doesn't matter what you think about the board members. It doesn't matter what you think about anyone. Do you think people aren't going to ask the Aftermath Foundation for money just because Mirriam Francis is asking uncomfortable questions? Asking questions of Mike Rinder is not an attack on the Aftermath Foundation. Do you know what does destroy the Aftermath Foundation's credibility? Mike, Mark, and Claire authorizing a lawyer being paid with by Aftermath Foundation funds to send a letter that insults the person who is advocating on behalf of Mirriam Francis. That is the kind of stuff that destroys the reputation of the Aftermath Foundation. Not, oh my God, whenever Aaron pisses someone off on YouTube, they email us. Oh, what are we going to do? Okay. It is also why we are creating the new foundation. And I say we because we have a heck of a lot of board members, not 3 married couples who all worked at the international management base. We have a ton of board members so that the whole community will feel represented. And it won't just be one ringleader. Mike Rinder calls the shots at the Aftermath Foundation, even though Mike Rinder does almost nothing for the Aftermath Foundation. He calls the shots because he thinks he's the big celebrity, and everyone thinks, Mike Rinder, Mike Rinder, Mike Rinder. Okay. Well, Mike Rinder, your method of dealing with Mirriam Francis is what is destroying your reputation and the reputation of the Aftermath Foundation. Not my videos. Not my videos. Okay. Yes. Yes. By the way, for anyone who goes, how can you guys be attacking someone who's battling cancer? Guys, based on Mike Rinder's own videos, Mike Rinder does no longer have cancer. I'm not telling secrets out of school. Maybe you guys don't watch all of Mike's videos. Mike's last 2 PET scans have been completely cancer-free. Mike Rinder never had cancerous tumors in his body. He had fluid that was accumulating in his lungs. The fluid was testing positive for cancer. After many tests, they determined that the original source of those cancer cells was somehow coming from esophageal cancer. There were no tumors in his esophagus. He did not have any surgery to remove tumors. None of the medication he takes has reduced tumors. There never were any tumors. He has said he has a blood mutation. Something about the expression of this blood mutation is creating the cancer cells and all this kind of stuff. He's taking an expensive medication that he probably has to take for the rest of his life, but the medications like suppresses the expression of the blood mutation, and he's cancer-free. He's cancer-free, okay? So we're not all attacking a man on his deathbed, okay? And if he's been on his deathbed, why has he had so much time to dedicate to trying to kick me off the board and to, like one of the things that made what happened with the Aftermath Foundation board so hurtful is that it was being done when we did actually think Mike was dying. This happened back in May, June, July. We did actually reasonably believe that Mike was dying. And I'm sitting here going, dude, as like your last dying act, you're just not willing to go without making sure I get kicked off this board? That's really weird. I would think if people was emailing you, with wild, crazy accusations about me, you'd be like, I'm kind of dying right now. I've got better things to worry about than trying to fucking destroy this guy who's been one of my best friends for 5 or 6 years and who employed me and gave me a paycheck and put food on my table and helped me support my family. Maybe my last dying act won't be to try to kick Aaron off the board he created with Luis Garcia. That's honestly what made it hurtful for me. Now you might go, geez, you're kind of talking about yourself. You're saying the guy was dying at the time. Yeah, it just happens to be what made it that much more hurtful to me at that time. I'm like, this guy's supposed to be one of my best friends in the world. He seems to be dying. And as part of his last act, he's like dedicated to doing something that to me, I think is going to completely ruin me in our community. Anyway, it's just one of the things that made it very hurtful. Okay. Yes. Listen, the Aftermath Foundation, the money in the accounts of the Aftermath Foundation does not belong to the Aftermath Foundation. It belongs to all the people in our community, all of our viewers who have generously donated to support the Aftermath Foundation. Okay. Since they kicked me off the board, they have created a new agreement that they are forcing people to sign who receive money. That is supposed to be a waiver of liability, but it has language baked into the end of it that says you agree to forever behave cooperatively and reasonably with all members and agents of the Aftermath Foundation. That is disgusting. You cannot now use the funds donated by people, our viewership, as damage control and as a method to silence criticism of yourselves as individuals or even of the foundation itself. You guys should be just giving away money as fast as people can ask for it. Mirriam Francis has asked for money to fund some treatment for PTSD or PTSI, and you have sat on that request because she won't sign your fucking form. You guys have approved money to help Miriam's brother. In fact, no, even before I was kicked off the board, we approved a request from Miriam's brother, Sam, for I guess I won't say how much money, a lot of money to help him with his living situation. And you guys have not followed up. You guys have not followed this up because he won't sign your form. That is unethical and that is unacceptable. And you guys are the ones damaging the reputation of the Aftermath Foundation. You're using money to pay for lawyers to send threatening letters to Scientology child sex victims that are asking for help. It's totally unacceptable. You should be giving out money as fast as you can. There's $200,000 in the bank. Put the money to good use and stop using it to protect yourselves. It's totally disgusting. Okay, guys. I could go on, but we've been going on for an hour, 10 minutes, so why bother? There's way too many comments for me to even respond to, guys, so I very much apologize for that. Even the super chats, you guys, I see your chats. I really, really appreciate the support. I couldn't possibly go through them all, so please forgive me for not doing so right now. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing something with Reese and company this afternoon. And then at 7 p.m., stay tuned for a panel style discussion for a bit more of this. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all your support. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.